Our region's business is sponsored by PNC Bank, solutions that help you achieve your goals in life. PNC, leading the way. And by Heffron Tillotson, a history of meticulous wealth management since 1948. Our region's business, innovation, transformation, momentum, improving our communities and driving technologies that will shape our region for generations. The collaboration that brings vitality, prosperity, and life to living. Stay with us for the coming half hour as we examine in depth our region's business. Now, here's your host, Bill Flanagan.
Today on our region's business, jobs going begging because people don't have the skills to fill them. So we'll tell you what the jobs are and how you can cash in. Plus, ensuring a neighborly day in the neighborhood. But first, 150 years after the oil and gas industry was born in our region, the industry is once again poised for expansion. It's called the Marcellus Shale, enormous natural gas reserves under the Appalachians. The challenge for the industry and for policymakers is to get it out of the ground. Rich Weber is president and CEO of Atlas Energy Resources and co-chair of the industry's Marcellus Shale Committee. Welcome. Good to see you back again.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, it's been less than 6 months, I think, since you first came down here to talk about the opportunity of the Marcellus Shale, and your world has kind of been turned upside down in some ways.
Things have changed. You know, we face a very challenging commodity price environment, and obviously our industry has a big bullseye on it from a taxation perspective, which makes things challenging.
Sure. Well, it's a brand in a lot of, although I guess the oil and gas industry still is a big part of Pennsylvania's economy, right?
It truly is. You know, as you mentioned in your introduction, our industry has been around Pennsylvania for 150 plus years. You know, we believe that we employ, either directly or indirectly, about 28,000 people in the Commonwealth, and so we're a big part of this economy as it stands today.
So you've always been, you know, part of the business community, part of the economy, but the Marcellus Shale thing is sort of like the next big thing, or the new thing.
It really has the potential to remake our industry, not only in Pennsylvania, but really the natural gas industry in the country. You know, we believe, and most of my colleagues at our competitors believe, that this is probably going to be the largest natural gas field in the United States. It's right here in Pennsylvania, and I think could be a huge generator of jobs and opportunity for many, many years.
Okay, and tough budget times, of course, though people look for that new source of revenue, that new opportunity, and the governor has actually, you know, proposed taxing the Marcellus Shale gas as well. Actually, more than just the new gas, even some of the existing wells, right?
That's right. In the governor's recent budget proposal, he is proposing a 5% severance tax on the on the oil and gas industry in the state, but we're primarily a natural gas industry here in Pennsylvania. Okay. You know, that doesn't sound like a lot, 5%, but that's 5% of our revenues. And when you take into account all of the expenses and costs that we incur to actually drill and operate these wells, it's about 30% of our profits. That's on top of the 9%, so that'd be about a 30% tax on profits, plus a 9.9% tax on our income. And then on top of that, you've obviously got all the federal income taxes. It leaves very little for the natural gas producer to really generate the kind of returns we need.
So you'd have to pay all the taxes that every other Pennsylvania business already complains about paying, plus this new tax on top of it.
That's correct.
Is the tax environment as complex in other states where the industry is making this kind of decision, these kinds of decisions?
Well, you know, yes. In other states, we do see severance tax, which is, again, a tax on the revenues that we produce.
Right.
But oftentimes, there are exemptions, whether perhaps we're exempt from income tax, or certain wells might be exempt, etc. When we look at the tax burden in any state, and we're active, Atlas Energy is active in 8 states, we always look at the holistic tax situation. Yes, there's complexity in every state, but this tax would make Pennsylvania the most expensive tax burden of any state that we operate.
No kidding. So yes. Yeah, it's a real complicated environment then to try to figure out how to handle this, because you want to attract the investment and hopefully unlock the gas. You know,
That's right. Well, when we make capital decisions on to drill and develop reserves, our capital is very fluid, and when we don't have unlimited capital. So when we have a higher tax burden in one area, it tends to shift capital to other states that have less of a tax burden. So we're hopeful. As an industry, we really are opposed to the idea of a severance tax, especially at this time when we're trying to get this Marcellus Shale off the ground. It's a huge opportunity for us, but a lot of companies like ourselves, we have a lot of capital to invest. We've got to take a bunch of risks to get this thing off the ground, and now is just not the time from our point of view to impose additional taxation on our industry.
Yeah, well, and it's I guess even if you're thinking about it as a way to close the state budget, it's such a new industry. Even if you impose the tax, how much revenue would it really generate to solve the current budget problems?
Well, I think that's a great point, Bill. Even the way Governor Rendell has proposed the severance tax, it really wouldn't make a meaningful dent in our budget for several years, because we are just now starting to get this Marcellus Shale play off the ground. One of the things our state has offered, and we've had a lot of communication. The governor's office is very open to us, and so we've had the communication. Is we've recommended that that the state provide more state lands for oil and gas development. Last year, Governor Rendell set aside 70,000 acres within the Commonwealth to develop natural gas, and was able to obtain $180 million in a lease bonus for that acreage. And we think there's additional acreage that perhaps the governor could make available to our industry, and that could make a meaningful dent in the budget this year.
Only a little less than a minute left, but I do want to ask the other issue, and it's too deep to get into, is all the environmental questions and concerns, the regulatory environment in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Are you at least finding the state constructive in trying to deal with some of the environmental issues around this industry?
Yes, and I really do have to compliment Governor Rendell and Secretary Hanger at the DEP. They have really, I think, approached this industry from a regulatory standpoint in a way that's very balanced between the environment as well as the development of this resource. We're not quite where we need to be, but as an industry, I think we're quite pleased with the progress we've made, especially in the last few months. And I really thank Governor Rendell and his staff for taking such an interest in helping us get this play off the ground.
Well, it's certainly an exciting opportunity for everyone in Pennsylvania, and a lot of job opportunities and everything else. So it seems like you got a lot of work ahead of you, though, to make all this happen.
We do, but we won't give up. We're here for the long run.
All right, Rich Weber from talking about Marcellus Shale. Thanks so much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Bill.
Yeah. And next up, jobs going begging even when the training's offered for free. Stay with us.